Hello children, hope you're fine. This is Radha, your English teacher. Yes, in today's class we're going to talk about a concept which talks about a student's life, right? A concept on which how the students should have the self-motivation, should have the self-improvement and also the observation. So in this chapter, we are going to talk about this. Okay, so before we get into the chapter, we shall understand about the author. A Question of Space, which is written by Nida Keshia. She has worked as a newspaper journalist, specializing in environmental journalism, social health communication and research. Basically, she was a journalist. This is about the author. Now, she has described beautifully the students of class 10 and 12 is a turning point of your education. So they have to make a right decision. The space should be given to them. It means the freedom to select their own studies should be given to them. This is what she discusses here. And coming up to the next one is the vocabulary meaning. Pounded, hit heavily and repeatedly. Pounded, hit heavily and repeatedly. Gear up, equip or prepare oneself. Gear up, equip or prepare oneself. Harping, go on about. Harping, go on about. Spun, go round. Spun, go round. Dynamic, energetic. The meaning of dynamic is energetic. Dismay is a shock or a surprise. Panting, it is quick breath. Panting, it is a quick breath. This is about the meaning of the hard words. Now let us understand what does Nida Kashyap says about how a child's life will be decided, and we need to give a space for his decision making. Despite maintaining a constant rhythm, Venkat found himself completely out of breath at the end of 3.2 kilometers jog. So now here what happened? Here the name of a boy who is called Venkat. He has been jogging for more than 3.2 kilometers. So now he is out of breath. It means he is tired sitting now. His head pounded with effort and with thoughts of the pressure his parents were mounting on him to gear up for medical entrance tests. So now here what happened? After his jogging, now Venkat sits and he thinks about the pressure which was given by his parents to appear for the medical entrance test. Still a year and a half away, he says, I still have 1.5 years to go. Both successful doctors themselves. His parents were anxious that Venkat ready himself to cope with the intensely competitive environment that had to be scaled for getting admission to prestigious medical college. So now here Venkat's parents both are the successful doctor. So that's the reason here Venkat's parents are pushing him to appear for the medical entrance exam. But here he says that I still have 1.5 years to go. Why are you pushing me now itself? Right? If he does good in his exam, he can also get an admission in the prestigious medical college. Prestigious means very nice and posh, a very standard college he can get the admission into. Class 11 had started with his mother's constant harping on the importance of the year for getting a good grip on science and maths. So now here what happened? Venkat is studying in class 11. On that day itself, his parents started to constantly force him to study well, especially on maths and science. They were forcing him to study and focus on maths and science so that he will get a good grip on his education. For viewing this as a foundation year for class 12, for using this as a practice year for launching into the 12th board and medical entrance exam. So now here his parents are telling, if you start studying now itself, that is from 11th standard, if you start studying, the 12th standard will be easy for you and it would be more comfortable for you to appear for the medical examination. That is the competitive exam. Board and medical entrance exam. His father quizzed him constantly on math, physics, biology. Quizzed him means his father was continuously asking him questions and giving him a quiz questions kind on math, biology and physics till his head spun. Means since his father was questioning him so many questions, his head was a kind of spinning. The conflict had acquired a distant edge ever since he had met Anjan. Now here, this was repeatedly going on in his mind, like how do I study? I have so much pressure from my parents. My father is always questioning me on maths, physics and biology. So he was all thinking of this. And then he met a new friend whose name called Anjan, who had spanned into his life like a new universe. How beautifully he is describing. He says, now I met a friend whose name is Anjan and he has changed completely. It's like a new moon for me. He says, I really feel somebody has come into my life. He says, I kind of feel it is the universe. Right here on this jogging track. Now he found his friend on the jogging track. Anjan was not just a person with dynamic ideas on photographs, on the connectedness between human beings and all other living species. Now here he says, Anjan, he is not only a very nice photographer, he is also connectedness with the human beings and their understanding. He says, on self-improvement as a part of human evolution, on the cosmic, he had turned into a friend very quickly, a much older friend. Now here, Venkat found a very nice friend, Anjan, who was not only a photographer, he was also very good in understanding the human beings and he became a very quick friend and also he became his older friend. That means a friend who is having a friendship for a very long time. It was like that his connection was between them. While reading a book borrowed from Anjan and experimenting with Anjan's old Kodak camera. Now these two friends became very nice. Their healthy relationship was on. And here Anjan, as I told you, he was also interested in photograph. So now what happened? Venkat started to take his Kodak camera and he started to capture his different creature pictures. That is adventurous picture he started to take. Venkat knew that his parents had watched his new interest with growing dismay. Now what happened? His parents, that is Venkat's parents, started observing that Venkat is not going in the education line. He is diverting his mind. He is losing his interest. They are feeling. His class grades had dropped. That is, his education has come down. The grades what he was getting was not up to the mark. It had come down. He had started skipping group tuitions, even the extra school classes. Now what happened? And Venkat, he did not get good marks in his school and he was also skipping the tuitions. He was not going to the tuitions regularly and he did not have interest in studies. Designed for a weekend, an only child as tension grew between Venkat and his parents. So he did identity with Anjan. So now what happened? His parents realized that he was not doing good in education as his grades is coming down. Now they had only one son, so they were more worried about his education, about his future. They were more worried. Panting, Venkat flopped onto a concrete bench just beyond with Anjan, was exercising on the metal swing bars granted into the earth. Sorry. So now what happened here? This all confusion Venkat was having and he was thinking, what do I do now? My parents are a little upset about my education. So now what happens? He goes to Anjan. Now he was doing exercise in the swing bar. He goes to him and he says, nothing like a good workout under the blue sky. Who says this? Anjan is telling. Nothing like a good workout under the blue sky. Much better than an air-conditioned gym. Now he says, doing some exercises under the blue sky is nowhere connected anywhere. It's not like going to the gym. And this is nature. This is beautiful, he says. Who says? Anjan is experiencing the nature and he's doing exercise and he's talking to Venkat. Much better than an air-conditioned gym, said Anjan with satisfaction, leaping off the bar and dropped on to the bold grass. Hey, what's up? You look grim. Now what happened? Venkat was very upset and he comes to Anjan. And Anjan gets to know that Venkat was in a very bad mood. He's asking, hey, what's up? What is wrong with you? Why are you sad? Venkat shrugged and there was a silence. Shrug means lifting the shoulders. He then said, did your parents put pressure on you to become a photojournalist? Now here, Venkat is asking, had your parents forced you to become a journalist on photo? He says, oh no, laughed Anjan. I started on my own with journalism and then took up photography much later to make the stories alive visually. Then he says, no, my parents did not force me. I was interested in doing this course, so that's why I became involved and I started capturing pictures. Then after a pause, he said, is there a pressure at your home bag? Now here, Anjan, he just feels that, why is he asking me this question? Maybe he has a pressure from his parents' home. So here, Anjan is asking, do you have a pressure by your parents? Venkat tried to shrug, but nodded instead. He was confused. Should I tell him or not? Okay? It seems to me that the pressure is worse for children of doctors. So here, Venkat says that I really feel doctors' children are very petty because we are forced to choose whatever their parents, whatever our parents tell them we are supposed to choose. We don't have space, he says. Perhaps because medicine is considered the noblest of profession and gives prestige, he says, I know medicine is the noblest profession, but it doesn't mean that everyone should choose the same profession. He's speaking his heart to Anjan. But tell me, how do I react to pressure? Now here, Venkat is asking Anjan, how do I react for all these pressures given by my parents? Oh, I explain, I argue, I snip. Sometimes I even walk out. It is worse when I lose control, he says. I show my pressure on my face. I just walk out when they tell me. I do everything, but it doesn't work out. Here, Venkat is feeling very sad and he is discussing with Arjun. Yeah, but have you noticed how your body reacts? Now here Anjan is telling, have you ever noticed when you are giving the gesture, what happens to your body? What do you feel? Have you ever noticed that? My body? It's no, not really, he says. I have never observed my body reaction. If you want to get control over a situation, you could start first by observing your body's reaction. He says, to control your pressure, to you say that you have a pressure, but firstly you have to understand your body reaction, your posture, your temperature, muscle contraction, breathing, the taste in your mouth. He says all these feelings you have to feel. Only then you can understand it is pressure. Children, please underline these lines. It is really very important. See? If you want to control over a situation, you could start by first observing your body's reaction, and then he says your posture, your temperature, your muscle contraction, breathing, the taste in your mouth. All these play a role when you are under the pressure. How will that help? Asked Venkat. Doubtfully, it will help you witness your reactions as if they are happening to someone else. Now here, Venkat is a little puzzled. How do I observe all this? So here Anjan says, you observe it, you will feel the difference. By observing your body and its reaction, you also distance yourself from them. This distance will help you first see, then control your reaction, said Anjan. So now he says, you will understand your feelings. You will understand what exactly is happening to your body posture. Try, he says. Then why not observe your body when you are feeling happy or excited or adventurous? Why only when you are under pressure? Quest Venkat. Now here he says, now Venkat is all puzzled because so many advices he is getting from Anjan, and he is also happy that I have found a very nice friend who is giving me a lot of advice, who is making me understand what exactly the pressure is, what exactly the life is. So now here he says, why should I only think of pressure? Why not when I have a happiness, or why not when I feel excited? Shouldn't I feel? He says. Sure, why not? Actually, our range of expression is quite limited. If we get familiar with our full range, we will become aware of all our habitual expression. But the next step is to practice expression. When there are no feelings to be expressed, I know this sounds daft, but think if you can express emotion without expressing them, said Anjan. So now here Venkat and Anjan's conversation is going on. So now he says, why should I only observe the pressure. I will try observing the happiness and the excitement. This is said by Venkat. Quizzing means he's asking a question. So here Anjan says, why not? It is also a wonderful experience. You will learn something. You will observe something in yourself. Like how? Ask Venkat. How do I observe myself? Okay, suppose you get a news that you have won a trip to the US. How would you react? Urged Anjan. Now here what happened? He says, okay, I'll give you a small pleasure. Now you got a news that you have won a ticket to go to US. How would you react? How would your body react? Now here what happened? Anjan is thinking. The US. Wow. Here what happens to Venkat. US. Wow. Exclaimed Venkat, giving his hands, body and face such an exaggerated expression of glee that both collapsed laughing. So here he just gave a small experiment. When you get a pleasure, how your body reacts. So now here what happened? He was so much happy. He was so much excited. The happiness in his face. He started to shake his hand. Everything excitement happened. So this was just a small experiment. Self-observation happened on its own much sooner than Venkat expected. At dinner that night, his father asked Venkat, have you found out which is the most suitable coaching center for your medical entrance test? Now here what happened? After all his needs, Venkat came home. Now again his father started, my dear, have you chosen any of the one institution for the medical center, for the coaching center? He's asking. No, said Venkat. No? What do you mean no? Father says. If you still have not found, when would you intend to enroll? Father is all angry. Father is all upset now. You say no? What do you mean by no? If you still have not enrolled? I don't know. Who says? Venkat says. I don't know. I'm already full up with tuitions, bio, maths, chemicals, physics, chemistry. It is tough. Now here what happens? Venkat hasn't spoken to his parents like this. So this is the first time he is talking to his father at this speed. He says, I don't know. I am already full up with tuitions, bio, math, physics, chemistry. It is tough. I cannot do tuitions. Venkat noticed that his mouth was dry. Now here, due to his scare, talking to his father like this for the first time, his lips became dry. That is, he is observing what is happening to his body when he is talking straightforward to his father. What had happened? His lips was dry. His head tight at the temples, it means the forehead, and his body slightly hunched. Because of the scary, his body was little hunched, and he had a temples on his forehead, and his lips were dry. This was the self-observation, what he did. Tuitions for medical entrance are not just tuition. These words are told by father. Father is again advising him. Tuitions for medical entrance are not just tuitions. They coach you for the career, for a higher competitive exams. Here the father is telling, tuition is not just a word. It is the place where you are learning something new. One wrong answer would make all the difference, he says. In the competitive exam, even if you make one mistake, it matters a lot. So that is the reason I'm telling you to have a coaching classes. It would be better if you turn your attention to investigating a coaching center rather than spend time with junkies and irrelevant things, finished Venkat's father. So now here Venkat father is telling, Don't involve in all the, I think he got to know that he is in a friendship with Anjan. He is not he is not encouraging that. So he is telling here, I don't want you to get involved in something junkies. So I want you to get involved in your studies. He is indirectly talking now. Rather than having a friendship, you can take a look at the institutional coaching center where you can improve your knowledge. Venkat noticed that his father's last remark sent a strong wave of heat through his otherwise weary body, glamorizing him to leave the room without another word. Venkat knew these conflicts were not getting him anywhere. Now, here what happened? Having a conversation with the father, he felt that nothing is going to happen. Ultimately, I am going into a medical entrance exam. He feels that after having a conflict, that is, after talking to him, after convincing him, nothing is going to change. But still, I have to ultimately appear for the exam. He feels it. He is feeling that. Sorry. It was not as if he felt medicine was all wrong for him. So here Venkat says that I don't feel medicine is something wrong or learning medicine is something bad. He just did not want to bulldoze like this. Bulldoze into working 3 shifts in a day, 6 days a week. He felt he needed time to pursue his own interests and pleasures, especially after his meeting with Anjan. Anjan spoke to him on various issues. Now here he says, I am not talking anything bad about medicine. I know it is a good concept. I know becoming a doctor is very nice. But I want space for my pleasure. I want space for my interest. I want to come up with my interest rather than somebody pushing me, he says this. Of the beginning of life, the places he traveled to, the elements he used to compose a photograph. Now here he says, especially after meeting Anjan, I understood what the space in our life is. We need to have freedom in our life to choose our selective education. We are not forced by anybody. It is our interest and we have to come up. Especially after meeting Anjan, I am very much involved in my space. I want space. If you can express yourself without feeling, you can feel as well without expressing. He said this. Now here what happened, having a conversation, discussing with Anjan. I'll repeat it. He just did not want to be bulldozed like this, bulldozed into working 3 shifts a day, 6 days a week. He felt he needed time to pursue his own interests and pleasures, especially after his meeting with Anjan. Anjan spoke to him on various issues of the beginning of life, the places he traveled to, the elements he used to compose a photograph, self-observation. All this was being happening by Anjum, and he was also very much interested to follow Anjum's steps. If you can express yourself without feeling, you can feel as well without expressing, he said. If you can understand what your feeling is without expressing it to others, you can admit it. When alone Venkat tried to practice emotion, he did not experience. At first, there were of joy, spontaneity, excitement. When he felt more neutral, he practiced a wider range: suspension, hostility, daring, joy, scorn, each with its accompanying posture and gestures. So now what happened? Now here, Venkat, he started to observe the things happening in him. He started to have a self-observation. What is happening to his mind? What he wants to do, he is observing slowly. His experiments with self-observation helped him see a whole range of his body reaction. the effect that different emotion had on the body. Now he slowly realizes, yes, I am getting an effect. When I'm having the emotional feeling, my body is happening, my body is reacting. He is slowly experiencing the step by step and how the mind got involved with these, but things did not seem to change with his parents, who he was realized would continue treating him like a child. So as long as he just shifted and reacted. So now what happened? He finally feels that my parents are not going to change. I have to change myself. Yeah. He says that my parents ultimately they're not going to leave me unless and until I appear for my exam. He ultimately feels it, but his body is slowly reacting that he experiences what is happening into his body. Yeah, but it does not help, said Venkat with digestion. Now here what happened? Don't worry too much about the change, advised Anjan. Don't worry about the change. Nothing Venkat's discouragement. One evening, you cannot really change anything till things are ready for change. He says, don't worry, Venkat. Unless and until the things are being changed, you cannot change. You need to accept certain things and they will change automatically. Just do your part. Don't worry about any of the changes. You cannot really change anything until they are changed. Yeah, but it does not help, said Venkat with digestion. Means he's still upset saying that how much ever I do, how much ever I try, nothing is going to work out. Anjan thought for a while. Then he spoke. If you really want to control over the situation, there are two more steps you can practice. Now here, ultimately, Anjan thinks of Venkat and he gives a last two option. What is it? Let's see. The movement on active feeling comes, which you think be controlled. Make a note, but don't express it. Now he gives a two solution, observation solution. He says, the moment an active feeling comes with you, when you have the feelings to express, don't express it. Don't express it. Control it. When you want to express your feelings, don't express, control it. What is the last step? He's asking, asked Venkat. Among almost mechanically. The last one is difficult, he says. The second one is little difficult, replied Anjan. This step involves expressing an emotion opposite what you feel. I repeat, this is the second step what he has told. He said it will be a little difficult, but try it. This step involves expressing an emotion opposite what you feel and can be done only if you are agitated. He says the second step is you can express an opposite emotion. You can express an opposite emotion, what you feel, or can be done only if you're agitated. You observe this, but choose to express calm and warmth instead of coldness. See, whatever you feel, you have to give the opposite emotion. Unless and until you accept it, you cannot do that, he says. As simple as that, laughed Venkat, a little hopingly. Venkat kept up his exercise in self-observation, practicing emotion he did not feel, even attempting not to express feelings that came up hot and strong. He felt some small stringing of change. He could see things more objectively even when he could not control his reaction. Now he started to actually understand the feelings of his body. He is experiencing. He feels, yes, I am getting to understand what is happening, what is pressure, what is pleasure, what is stress. He's feeling it. He started to experiencing it. His parents were pushing less, listening more. He noticed that instead of both of them speaking in one voice at points of control or friction, one spoke while the other refrained. This was leading too much of interaction, except on the subject of Anjan. Now, here what happened? Ultimately, when he came home, his parents started one by one talking about his education. Do that, do this, do that, do this. He was very, very much frustrated. How these parents are forcing me to get into something which I'm not interested in. He's frustrated. But he only thinks of Anjan at that time. He told me to have patience. He told me to self-control. He told me to observe myself. He's only thinking about Anjan. I'm still hobnobbing with that character. What is his name? Asked his mother at breakfast one morning. So when Venkat was thinking of Anjan, his mother realizes that he is thinking of that boy who had advised. Now his mother gets angry and she says, "Are you still hobnobbing with that character? Are you still thinking of that Anjan?" She is not specifying the name. She's just telling, "Are you still thinking of that boy there?" "What is his name?" asked his mother at breakfast one morning. His father's silence was expectant. Venkat observed his temples tightened, his hunched shoulders straightened out in confrontation, his pulse became irregular, and he gave with lot of intonation his sound. He says, "His name is Anjan." "Mummy?" he replied. "Anjan Jain? Anjan is a friend?" "In fact, more." Now mother is asking, "Anjan? His name is Anjan. He is your friend." So he says, "In fact, more than a friend," he says. He teaches from him. I have learned many things that are hard to explain. He says, "Anjan is not only my friend, he is more than that, who has taught me many things, who has made me understand many things." Yes, but he will not be sitting for your entrance test. Now here again, mother is coming to the same topic. "I know Anjan is your friend, but will he come and sit in the entrance test beside you? Will he help you? If you lose your grip on class 11, you will never catch up your class 12, said his mother assertively. Now here what happened? Anjan's mother is very much upset and she's still forcing him to do the entrance exam and she's still forcing him to study hard and she gave an assertively. As Venkat felt his temples throb, a sudden calm entered his heart. If I am allowed space for a new interest, I will also find space for what is important for a career, he said quietly. Now here what happened? Now Venkat started to talk very bold to his parents saying that instead of you people forcing me, why don't you all give a space for me? And why don't you all give some importance for my decision? I know what is important and I will definitely do the important thing. Give me some space. Finally, he says. This time, it was his father who spoke. He was talking to his mother, but father was only sitting and listening. So finally, his father says, this time it was with father who spoke. "Fine." Ultimately, father said, "Fine. To achieve balance, we will be with you." He says, "Okay, my son, you take your own option, you take your own decision, but we will be with you. We will balance you." At the end of class 11, Venkat enrolled for classes at a coaching center for medical entrance test. He did this with an awareness that it was the right thing for him to do. and he finally realized, yes, I convinced my parents for my own decision making, but ultimately I know studying medicine is important. So finally he chose what his parents chose for him. So he appeared for the medical entrance exam. So here, children, ultimately they say that we need to give space for children. We need to make them understand, and even they will come up with the new ideas and all that stuff. Even they feel, yes, I know what is important and what is not important. This is what here in the lesson she has discussed. I hope it is clear and you have understood everything, children. Thank you so much.